I had a request to go on camera with the new podcast, but I couldn't figure out where to look when I'm holding my phone and looking into it, and I looked deranged. So I've got to work on that. But let me tell you something about the Brokenwood Mysteries. My husband and I always do a marathon in October, as many people do, of showing or of blogging about a certain number of Halloween specials and horror movies. And so this year, we each picked out 10. We thought that 20 episodes or 20 blog posts was not too ambitious. We each picked 5 things that we liked and 5 things that we'd never seen. And it was my turn to start. And so I made him watch one of the Halloween episodes of the Brokenwood Mysteries, which is often described as a New Zealand version of Midsummer Mysteries, but it's so much more. It is my favorite show that is currently in production, and I can tell you that that is high praise because I work from home and I was social distancing due to being a cancer patient even before the pandemic. And so I watch a lot of TV, and I can tell you this is the show that I recommend the most highly. It was created by Tim Balme, who was the guy that starred in that crazy zombie movie Dead Alive that Peter Jackson made. And I didn't even like that movie, but Tim Balme and I are of the same mind, knowing that he created these characters and wrote a lot of the episodes. This is a person that I would like to give a high five to. It stars Neil Ray, who was a casting director who did a little bit of acting, and now he's in this international hit as Mike Shepard. He's DSS Mike Shepard, which means he's the head of the murder investigation team. And his character is that he drives a cool old car from the 70s called a Holden Kingswood. I think that's kind of their version of a Ford. And he's been married a bunch of times. He won't say exactly how many. And he loves country music. But what they call country music and what they play on the show sounds more like roots music. It's not like Merle Haggard and things like that. It's more like Steve Earle or even Graham Parsons. I think actually there's a reference to Graham Parsons in one episode, but I'll get into that later. So then they try to make Mike seem like the old guy, which he was born in the 70s, so I don't agree with that. But it's in contrast to his main partner, who is a much younger person the actress is named Fern Sutherland. She's a legit badass in real life. She does Muay Thai boxing on her time off, and she plays Kristen Sims, who is second in command. She is also a badass. She likes to run after and tackle the suspects, and she also knows a little bit about everything. She has a psychology degree, and nobody messes with Kristen Sims, not least of all because she makes terrible coffee, which is the running joke of the show. Now, there have been a lot of people who starred on this show, but I'm going to keep it to the top 5 in the current incarnation. So the third of this team is a guy named Jared Rory. I think that's how you pronounce his last name. But he plays Daniel Chalmers on the show. And he's the tough, sarcastic, good-looking guy. If Kristen Sims isn't going to chase the villain, then he chases the villain. And they don't really give him a gimmick. But they did give a gimmick to his predecessor, who was a guy named Nick Sampson, who played, Sam Breen. And I'm bringing him up because he wrote the episode that I'm going to talk about, even though he's not on the show anymore. And Sam Breen's gimmick was that they always sent him to the worst, most annoying witnesses to interview. So he would end up with possum grease smeared on his face or having to drink cocktails with some insane political candidate or sitting and talking to a guy, a failed comedian who would take things apart with a screwdriver. But Chalmers has had an actual love interest on the show, which most people don't have. He didn't last, but, I don't know. I don't feel like I know that character very well, but I'd like to. So there's two others. They're perpetually witnesses. There's a guy named Frankie Odes, known as Frodo, who at this time runs a coffee cart where they'd rather get their coffee than drinks Kristen Sims' coffee. And he has a bad group of family members that are always involved in crimes, the Odes family. But he's a good egg, and they go to him for, exposition, plot development. And the other one is Trudy, who runs several bars around town, and she went to prison at one point, but got out in a very interesting turn of events. And now she will always preface her remarks with, "Now, I'm not a snitch," but then she proceeds to give them enough information to help solve the crime. And I guess I should get into the episode. I just love this show so much. One time I heard some people talking about it at the next table in a restaurant, and it was all I could do not to go over there and sit there and start talking to them. I love talking to people about it on Reddit, and now I'm spreading the gospel to you. And my husband, he does not share my love of the cozy murder mysteries, but he has grudgingly admitted that in the way that I will watch wrestling and get into wrestling now because we've been married for so long, he starts to get into the murder shows, and I think this is the one that irritates him the least. But I definitely wanted to get it on this month, and they have had 2 Halloween episodes, I think I said, but this one was called... Gosh, I need to look over at my IMDb app. I'm sorry, I'm doing this live because I'm lazy. And I'm not sure if, I think my recording might have gone away while I was looking. House of Screams. It is from season 9. And it is implied that in New Zealand they don't celebrate Halloween as vigorously as we do here in the States, or maybe in England where it came from. But that could just be in the universe of the show. So they show up to investigate this murder. It's rather grisly. This guy in a jacket, a leather jacket that's obviously what would have been worn on the movie Teen Wolf, comes out of the attraction with a sickle through his neck and then drops dead. Like he's walking around, but he's already dead. And it's pretty gruesome for TV. And, of course, Frankie Odes, Frodo, is first on the scene because he's working as a ghoul in the House of Screams, as well as doing his coffee cart. And it's funny when you watch TV, what they usually make of actors. When there's a show about actors, they make them look like idiots. But in this one, in this particular episode, all the actors in the haunted house are like the cool kids in town, only they're not. I would think they were cool. They would be the people that I would want to hang out with. But the leader of the Chads, the jock, Soch, whatever kids in town, is this guy who just got the sickle through his neck, and he's supposed to be cool. And they actually named him Chad, which is an example of the type of humor in this show. There's like good topical jokes, and then I think there's a lot of jokes that go over my head being an American. So Chad gets murdered. He's been bullying everyone in the school. I don't know why everybody thinks that he's cool, except that he drives a souped up Subaru and his dad has like a 1980 Stingray. And his dad is rich, and he knows people in the city. So he threatens Mike Shepard, "You've got to solve this crime," in the room where the pathologist has been looking at Chad. And I forgot, the most important character everybody loves on the show is the pathologist. Her name is Gina. She's from Russia. She has all the best lines, and she's in love with Mike, and it's unrequited. So in this case, Gina is doing it up for Halloween by putting like cartoon bats around the inside of the room where they do the autopsies, and she offers the deceased's father some Russian toffee. So you can see what they do with the character of Gina. So Chad has got a best friend who stole his car and drove away and wrecked it, and was laying in the hospital on a drunk driving charge, and tries to get Sims to go with him to the prom. She's really good looking. I didn't mention that. Just drop dead gorgeous, as well as being tough. And then he has a girlfriend who is lying and lying and lying about what went on. And then they go through all the suspects, and it's kind of a surprising conclusion, and it's kind of sad why this murder happened. Very sad. And maybe some lives are changed, because the girlfriend character, she comes back as a regular character in season 11, working as bartender in Trudy's bar. Trudy, who is not a snitch. And so I've talked about the show. I've talked more about the show itself than this episode, and I can't wait for my husband to tell everyone what he thought of it. So that's about all I have to say. Trickin' and treatin' and whatnot. And I will see you soon.